All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Happy New Year. Brandon, I didn't even tell you Happy New Year.
Happy
Just
New
jumped
Year.
into the show and I was like, Slate's crazy. Uh, how are you feeling though, man? You have a good New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I did. I didn't do anything too crazy. Just spent some time with the family, ate some good food. So
Hmm,
had a good time.
That's a good way of doing it. Good way of doing it. Hey, well, we have a interesting slate on deck today. Six gamer. They took some of the later games out, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. Uh, let's go ahead and jump into it. For those of you that don't know, on this show, we talk and we go game by game. We talk through the guys that we like and just strategize what our game plan will be later. At 5:30 p.m., we'll have the pre-lock show. That's when we will really execute on our game plan. We'll show the changes that we make to the domination station. If you're interested in that show, it's only for VIP members. Link is in the description there. Feel free to use promo code BDUBB for a 10% discount there. But Happy New Year, guys. I hope you all are doing well. Zolo, Takedown, OG, get to see the crew in here. But like I said, let's jump into it. Starting off with the Cavs. I know this is usually a team that you have more interest in than I do, and it's been going very well for you. From an injury news standpoint, we have Evan Mobley out, Darius Garland out. These guys have been out for a while, though, so there's nothing super new here. What are you doing with the Cavs?
So I don't think you'll be surprised with me saying this, but it's looking like Donovan Mitchell is probably going to be a leverage play for me again.
Mhm.
Expect him to be low owned again, and 9,500 is still a great price for him. So I'm definitely going right back to him. Jared Allen, I don't think I can make him a priority, but it's hard to ignore his performance lately. Last three games, he's put up at least 56 DraftKings points. He's just playing at an elite level right now. So I'll be completely fine if he shows up in the mix. And then last guy I kind of have some interest in is Karis LeVert. Just from what I'm seeing so far and the lack of value, it's looking like it's going to be a kind of like a balanced night. So he fits into that mold. And 5,800, you can play him at small forward and shooting guard. I'm sure I'll have a decent amount of him tonight as well. So those are kind of the three guys I'm looking at here.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on Donovan and Jared Allen. Donovan's not someone I plan on going crazy on, but I do like him in following you on a potential leverage play. Jared Allen is someone that, again, like you, I am very comfortable getting exposure to him. Ideally, he'll show up in a decent amount of my lineups, but I'm not overly passionate about it. I don't feel like I need to force him into my lineups as of right now. Max Strus is still an interesting guy. I think his price tag is what is continuing to leave me off of him, but the usage rate on him is definitely something that's still viable. He does see the highest increase when guys like Garland and Mobley are out. So a little bit of interest there, but not a spot I'm trying to force exposure to. Karis LeVert, I agree. If I get some exposure there, once again, fine with it, but no one's standing out for me too much where I feel like I have to have them for the Cavs. Let's see. Zolo said no interest in Tristan Thompson. Did you give him any thought, Brandon?
None, really.
Yeah, you're like not going there. JJ, what's up? Said Donovan every time. Sometimes in basketball it's about being consistent with plays because when they're hot usually. All right. Next up, we have and then as soon as you get off of them, that's when they'll go off. That's why you usually have to stick with it a little bit. Next up, we have the Raptor side of things. We've seen some changes. For those of you that don't know, there was a trade that happened over the weekend. This team now has RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. They also lost OG and Achua, I think. Or what was his name?
Yep,
Precious?
Precious. Yep.
Yeah, I was blanking on his name there. So there are some changes here. We see RJ Barrett at 5,900. It wouldn't shock me if he sees some ownership here tonight. But there's not really a lot of injury news that stands out for the Raptors. Are you taking a wait and see approach here, or are there guys that are standing out for you?
I think I kind of already know what I want to do here. And I think actually quickly is the one I'm going to make a priority here. Um, their depth at point guard is non-existent, pretty much, and at 5K, I'm expecting him to play a lot of minutes. I'm going to have a good chunk of him, and like I said, I'm looking to go more of the balanced approach tonight as of now. So he fits into that really well at point guard and shooting guard. Barrett, I'll be taking some shots on as well. Kind of the same deal. 5,900 is a great price. Expect them to play 30-plus minutes. Toronto loves playing. They're like key guys a crap ton. So definitely don't mind targeting the two new guys here. Barnes is always worth mentioning. He's just been killing this season so far at 9K, though. Not sure if I can make him a huge priority. So he's just going to be one of those guys where I'm okay if he shows up in the mix, but don't think I can force him a lot. And then same deal with Podol and Siakam, especially Siakam. I know he's one we always love forcing in at low ownership. So I would imagine he's probably going to be low owned. So definitely don't mind trying to get some leverage there.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting spots where we don't have data points to know exactly what usage rates are going to look like with this new team. So I think that's worth calling out, is that there could be some room for some surprises. And I think the Emmanuel Quickly call is one of those plays where a lot of people probably won't be expecting him to see as much run as we are. So I agree with you on that. He's projecting decently well, so ideally he'll show up and I want to force him in, but he's someone I want to keep on my radar. The guys that I want to prioritize, though, and if they're not showing up naturally for me when I run my initial runs, are guys that you mentioned, Pascal Siakam and Jakob Poeltl. They should be relatively low owned. Again, the Cavs have been struggling defensively when Mobley's out. The rebounding rate's lower. Everything's lower from a defensive standpoint. So I like picking on the Cavs with some of their bigs, and I'm hoping that these guys are low owned, so I don't have to go super crazy on it. So Siakam, Jakob Poeltl. And then I want to see where Barrett's ownership falls. If he ends up being super chalky, I don't really want to chase it. But if he's getting under-owned, it wouldn't shock me if he's more of a focal point of this offense. So I'm interested in having a little bit, but just will depend on ownership, and ideally Quickly will show up for me naturally. Anyone else you want to touch on in this game?
That's it for me.
All right. Next up, we have the game of the night, the Pacers against the Bucks, a 260 total. For DFS, though, there's not a ton of news that makes things super interesting, at least for me. On the Pacers side of things so far, we do have Bruce Brown listed as doubtful. Brown's been out for a little bit now, so not overly exciting. What's your thought process for the Pacers?
So Halliburton, I'm definitely going to try to find a way to get some of him in my lines. Like I mentioned, it's going to be hard to get some of these expensive studs just based on what we have. But Halliburton's just been way too good lately. Like back-to-back games, 20-point, 20 assist games is just insane. So we know how bad the Bucks defense is. So I think this is a spot he can smash yet again. And then other guys I'm looking at, who will fit into that balance build is guys like Nesmith, Nembhard, and Mathurin. I'm sure I'll have a decent mixture of them. And then Turner is another guy where I'm okay if I land on him, but just not a priority for tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Daniel, appreciate you, man. Takedown Quickly was not on the injury report today, and neither was Barrett. So that's one thing that makes us feel a little bit better about them. That can always change, though, so we'll see. Next, for the Pacers, like you mentioned, Halliburton is someone that I want to get exposure to. I would ideally be over the field on him. You all know, high game totals, I force exposure to the studs. It's that simple for me. I love it when they're low owned, so it's even easier, but I'm not going to question it. I'm going to have exposure to Halliburton. Outside of that, the Pacers are always just a dart throw, honestly. When Bruce Brown is out, they're a more viable dart throw. And then when they're in the highest total game, like they typically are, they're even more viable. So like you mentioned, Brandon, I want to have some exposure to your Nembhards, your Nesmiths, your Mathurins, but I'm not. There's not one guy I'm trying to force exposure to here outside of Halliburton. So that's my game plan. Really like this team, but Halliburton's the only guy I'm going to make sure I have exposure to. All right, next up, we have the Bucks. For those of you that don't remember, Giannis was very upset with the Pacers a couple weeks ago, almost brawled out with the whole team. in that moment, we were all like, Giannis is a lock the next time he plays the Pacers. And I believe that with everything in my heart. But now I'm starting to question it a little bit. What are you thinking, Brandon? What's your game plan here?
I love Giannis, and he's probably going to be my highest exposed stud on the slate. So I'm going to try to have a decent amount of him tonight. It's just hard for me to go there.
Yeah.
Outside of him, I like Middleton. I think I don't want to go too crazy on him, but I could see anywhere between 20 to 40% on him.
So what is it
Lillard,
with Middleton? Is it the price tag, the
yeah,
matchup?
the price tag in the matchup. He fits into that balance build.
Mm-hmm.
Lillard, I'm not as high on. I just like playing him more when Giannis is in play. 8,900 for him is tempting, but we just haven't seen that upside in quite a while from him. So I'm not looking to make him a priority. And Lopez, I definitely don't mind him. We've been playing bigs against this team pretty much the whole season. So he's another option I'm okay landing on.
Yeah. There's a trend that I'm not going to talk about now because I might jinx it. But tomorrow, if it works out, it's a narrative. It's not a statistical thing. Then I definitely want to mention it because it's a very interesting trend that I hope keeps up. But like we all keep mentioning, highest game total, soft matchup. In my early runs, Giannis is in 95% of my lines right now. So he's pretty we don't have a ton of value, but there's enough there to make him work. So Giannis is definitely going to be a priority for me tonight. I'm not going to have 95% Giannis, but I do plan on being significantly over the field. Did you mention Lillard at all, Brandon? What were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's not somebody who excites me tonight. I know it's a great matchup, but I think I'd rather just prioritize Giannis and go elsewhere outside of Lillard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Giannis is the priority. If Lillard shows up a little bit, I'm okay with that because he's projecting pretty well in the domination station. Same thing with Middleton. When it comes to the Bucks tonight, I'm not trying to find a reason to get away from them. I want them to show up in my lines. So Lillard, Middleton, Lopez, Giannis, those are all guys I want to see tonight. I like this spot for them. Moving on, things get a little bit more sad from there. That was the high point. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons, who finally saw a win. Cade Cunningham has been great over the last few games. Are you trying to get to Cade tonight?
Depending on his ownership, I'm willing to force him in. I don't think he would be chalky, but if he is, then I'm okay with going under that or not having him at all. But he's another guy who you can't really ignore how he's been playing. He's been the heartbeat of this team. So I'm fine if I get there. The main priority for me here is Jalen Duren, 6,700. He's been very consistent when he is healthy and sees the minutes. So he's definitely my top priority. And I can honestly see him being a core play. And then another guy I don't mind is Bojan Bogdanovic. Again, he just fits into that balance build, and we've seen what he can do as well. So Duren and Bojan would kind of be the main priorities, and I'm okay if Cade shows up a little bit.
Yep, I agree. Those are the three guys I have kind of listed as viable options, and thankfully they're all projecting decently well. So again, they should also show up a bit naturally. I only plan on forcing exposure to Cade Cunningham if he's low owned. If he's seeing above 10% ownership, which I'm not expecting, then I'm okay not forcing that. All right. Next up, we have the Rockets. And for the Rockets, these two guys have been questionable for what feels like an eternity. Jabari Smith is questionable. Terry Eason is questionable. The reason why that's so annoying for me is because when one's out, I like playing the other. And so when they're both questionable, a little bit hard for me to figure out which one I want to force exposure to. Thankfully, their price tags have started to increase, so they're not really the must plays they were a couple of weeks ago when one or the other ended up getting ruled out. But do you have much interest in the Rockets today? I like them tonight.
Yeah, only two guys for me, which I see you like them as well, and that's Şengün and Van Vliet. They both have great upside, and Pistons are the worst team in the league, so it's hard not to play those two, and they have decent price tags as well. I wish Şengün was a little cheaper, but we know he can pay that off, and Van Vliet isn't the most consistent, but 8,200 isn't bad for the upside he has.
Yeah, I agree. This Pistons team, their front court can't stop anyone. And so Şengün has a ton of upside. He's well priced at 8,800. He's my favorite center play on the slate. Really think he's in a good spot here. Fred VanVleet is just in a decent spot, decent matchup. I want him to show up in my line, so he's someone that I'm willing to prioritize. Outside of that, like I mentioned, depending on the injury news between Jabari and Eason, willing to take a shot on them based on the news here. Anyone else you want to touch on?
No, the rest of these guys are kind of hard to get to.
Yeah, agreed. All right, the team with a ton of questionables. There's always one on every slate. We have the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Utah Jazz. We'll start the list. Luka Doncic is questionable. Kyrie Irving, who's been out for a while, is questionable. Exum, questionable. Seth Curry, questionable. And then Kleber's been out for a while. Is there any way of making sense of the Mavs with the way things are right now?
Well, I'll start with saying we just got the news that they were all present for shoot around, so
Good.
that's a good sign that they'll be playing, which kind of muddies the water a lot for this team. Right now, the only piece I'm looking for is Lively. 5,400 again fits into what I want to do. Utah's not that great of a team. So I'm okay with getting there. Luka, I always have a hard time deciding what I want to do with him. At most, if I were to play him, it would just be one of those nights where I throw 5% on. Don't think I can go much higher than that.
Yeah.
And then, especially with Kyrie back, if he is back, I don't think I can play any of these other secondary guys here.
Yeah. Takedown, I'll be honest with you, man. I think there is an edge to looking at who the refs are just to see who are the foul trippy or foul happy calling refs. But honestly, I've never looked at refs very seriously. Have you, Brandon?
No, I don't usually factor that into how I play.
Yeah, I agreed. But appreciate the help there, knowing that they were all at the shoot around today. The thing that's really okay, it just updated a little bit, but the 3.5 spread was kind of freaking me out going up against the Jazz. The Mavs aren't a great team, but the Jazz are god awful. So seeing that 3.5 spread made me feel like someone was going to end up missing this game. But with the trend, it looks like the spread's getting wider as we get later into the day. So I'm a little bit more okay with the way that this is breaking down. With that being said, if everyone ends up playing tonight, there's not really anyone who's standing out for me too much. But of course, if Irving ends up getting ruled out, I'll have a little bit more interest in putting that 5% min on Luka. Probably would have to be 15 to 20% since we'll probably see decent ownership. But Luka's really the only guy I'm looking at. Now, if Doncic ended up getting ruled out for who knows why, that's when things will get a bit more interesting and me taking shots on guys like Kyrie or Tim Hardaway Jr., etc. Do you have any interest in Derek Lively? I know it looks like he's projecting decently.
Yeah, he's actually currently the one Mav that I have a decent amount of exposure to, so I definitely don't mind him tonight.
Yeah, he's just cheap. I never like playing Mav bigs, but he's cheap and the Jazz are bad, so I'm warming up to the idea of it. Yeah, these refs are insane this season. Maybe it's always been this way, but it feels a little bit more weird this year for some reason. Next up, we have the Utah Jazz, and they're healthy. They're healthy, and that's really all the news you need to know of them. What's your game plan here, Brandon?
Depending on his ownership, I wouldn't be surprised if I made marketing a leverage play. 8K flat for him is great, and not too worried about the Mavs defensively, especially their front court. I think this is a matchup where Laurie can smash here, so I'll definitely be playing him. Keontae, I don't mind either. 5,700 starter fits into what I want to do tonight, and definitely don't mind having a decent amount of him. And then Kessler, I was thinking about kind of for the same reason as Markkanen. I love attacking this Dallas front court, so I'll be keeping them in the back of my mind, but not a priority as of now. So mainly just Markkanen and Keontae for me.
Yeah, the thing that's pissing me off with all of the Jazz these days is just they're not playing a lot. Like no one's really seeing more than 30 minutes ever since everyone's gotten healthy outside of our guy, Lauri Markkanen. Everyone else has been in the upper 20s, which isn't awful for that 5 to 6K range. It's just, I want more. And they're just not giving it to me. So I'm probably going to avoid these guys until someone ends up not playing for whatever reason, besides Lauri Markkanen. I like playing bigs against the Mavs. Markkanen falls into that category for me, even though he's not a center. And so he's really the only guy that I'm looking at making a priority. If I get a little bit of George, Sexton, Kessler, Collins, I'm okay with it, but ideally they're not showing up in my lines today. All right, got that game out of the way. The one thing that I will draw attention to is that this game does have the second highest game total on the slate. And if the spread does stay close, then it does point towards increasing the likelihood of me putting those 5% mins on Doncic if he plays and making sure I'm over the field on Markkanen. So something to watch out for. All right, now we have two gigantic spreads coming up. Hornets against the Nuggets. For the Hornets, when it comes to injury news, we have Terry Rozier listed as probable. Mark Williams is doubtful. And then the rest of these guys have been out for a while. Are you trying to force exposure to any of the Hornets tonight?
Probably not. I'm not really on this team much as of now. I do have a little bit of Nick Richards showing up, and I would imagine Rozier is going to be low owned again, so he would be the one guy I wouldn't mind forcing him, but this team as well is just not really appealing tonight.
I was gonna say, like, Scary Terry was your guy for a minute, but I think you're just like, yeah, he's just there. But he's been in these widespread games. Rozier has kind of been coming through in them. We saw it last game against the Suns. He was able to score like 60, 65 fantasy points. If he's low owned, he's someone I want to continue to make a priority. It's not hard to get 5-10% of a guy with the upside that he has. So he's someone that I want to keep getting exposure to. I'm disappointed slightly just because I thought Bridges would be that guy for this team, but he hasn't been. Even with Hayward out, he's just been underperforming a little bit. Nick Richards looking like he's projecting decently well. Do you have any interest in him?
Yeah, I'm okay if he shows up in the mix, but again, he's not going to be a priority for me.
Yeah, agreed. Darius, what's up, man? Agreed. Let's start this new year off hot. Next up, we have the Nuggets. Aaron Gordon's questionable. So that does and that will impact a good bit of what I do with this team tonight. But what's your thought process here?
Definitely got to have some Jokic here. I know I mentioned Giannis being my favorite stud, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to have any Jokic. So not sure how much quite yet, but probably somewhere between 10 to 20%, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Jamal Murray, I never mind going for. His price is going up, so not sure if I can make him too big of a priority tonight. And then I guess it depends on if Gordon plays or not, but I wouldn't mind taking shots on MPJ. I like him more if Gordon is out, of course.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. MPJ has not been playing very well as of late with Aaron Gordon now. He's been very disappointing, but I still love the matchup, and I know the 40, 50 point upside is there. So I want to keep taking shots on Michael Porter Jr., especially if Aaron Gordon's out. If Aaron Gordon plays, I'm not going to try to force the issue here. Same thing being said, if Aaron Gordon's ruled out, then Nikola Jokic is someone that I'm considering as a leverage play on this slate in a really good matchup. Everyone's afraid of the blowout. I don't care about blowout spreads, whatever. So if he's low owned, I'll be over the field on him. And I like him even more if Aaron Gordon's out. And then once again with Jamal Murray, the Nuggets are one of those teams. If the news breaks the right way, I think they might still go a little under owned because Aaron Gordon's been out for a little bit and their price tags are still slightly elevated from where they would be if Aaron Gordon was playing. So I like the Nuggets a bit more than I think other people do, just because everyone else is scared of that 14.5 spread for good reason. Next up, we have the last game on the slate. Trailblazers going up against the Suns. The Trailblazers do have some injury news we should touch on. Shaden Sharp, questionable. Big deal. Tumani, questionable. Reith, doubtful. Simons is out. We already know that, which is good. Ayton's out. So quite a few pretty big pieces out for this team. What are you doing with the Trailblazers tonight?
So Scoot will probably be a priority for me. I would prefer if Sharp is out again for me to go really heavy on him. But if Sharp is out, I'm gonna have a lot of Scoot. He's been in way better form and definitely love him when he sees 30 plus minutes. So he's somebody I'm looking at. Jabari Walker is another guy I like here. He's seen back-to-back 30-minute games. We know Moses Brown and Baji, the backup centers, they've been straight trash. And Walker has kind of been the guy to step up for him down low. So if I were them, he would be the guy I start tonight, but not sure if he will. Definitely if he starts, I'm going to have a lot of him. And then Brogdon is another guy who I like more if Sharp is out. And Grant I don't really have any strong leans on him, but he's a guy I'm okay with if he shows up in the mix. So two priorities for me are Scoot and Jabari.
Yeah, I love Grant's price tag. And once again, I do this a lot. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I am more afraid of this blowout. Like when it comes to Brogdon and Grant, I worry about them seeing their usual run. Ideally, I'll be around field weight on Brogdon. Grant, I want to see where his ownership ends up falling because that's going to dictate a lot of what I want to do there. But I don't trust this spot. I feel a little iffy about it. When it comes to the other players like Scoot and Walker, they're way more viable for me just because they would continue to see run in a blowout. So I'm just a lot less nervous about that. So very interesting spots. If Sharp ends up getting ruled out, we're going to have a shit ton of the Trailblazers tonight, but it's just one of those wait and see situations for me. All right, last team, we have the Suns going up against the Trailblazers. Bradley Beal's looking like super chalk. He played a lot of minutes last game. It's really hard to get away from him. Everyone and their mom's talking about him and playing him tonight. What are you trying to do here with Beal?
I'm probably not going to avoid the spot. It's always scary playing him, especially since he can't stay healthy. But 6,100 on a slate like this, where we don't have any value, and he played over 30 minutes last game, like it's hard not to go there. So I'll be eating that chalk in. I would imagine he's going to be a core play. Outside of Bill, I'm not really liking anyone else here, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, him playing 34 minutes last time kind of blew my mind. Didn't see that coming. I don't know. This whole game just feels so freaking gross to me. Widespread, guy who's injury prone, less likely he's going to see 35 minutes tonight. 6,100 isn't super cheap, but the sim model likes him. He projects well. It tracks with my usual process. I'm fighting everything in me to not try and fade him, but for now, I'm playing him. On the pre-lock show, I'm going to play around. Before the pre-lock show, I'm going to play around with ways of not. I won't X him out of my player pool. I'm definitely not doing that. But I want to see if I can lower exposure to him and still have decent lines. I don't think I'll be able to, so I'll probably just end up eating the chalk, but I do want to play around with it a little bit.
We just got some things that will make things more interesting. Rozier is now questionable.
That's fucking wild. That definitely more interesting, but the Hornets are gross. That makes me a little bit less excited about the Nuggets tonight.
For sure.
Not a but obviously guys like Miles Bridges would see a nice boost. Funny that we talked about him. He would see a nice increase in usage. So definitely more interesting. Did you mention KD or Booker? Did you take a shot on them? Or do you think you will?
No, not tonight. I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, like I said, I have a like on Devin Booker right now, but he hasn't shown the upside here recently. And like I mentioned, the blowout is a concern for me here. So if he is super low owned, he might get a 5-10% min for me, but I'm not loving this spot for the Suns or the Brogdons or Grants right now. But we'll see. We'll see where ownership comes in.
And it's hard to get to KD when you pay 900 more to get to Giannis.
Yeah, agreed. Daniel said, what do you guys think on Baird and Quickly 1 to 10 on confidence on playing tonight at all?
Oh,
well, they weren't on they weren't on the injury report, so there's no reason to assume they're not playing unless we get something or get more news on that. So I feel pretty solid around 10 or 9. I'll say 9 just in case weird shit happens.
I'm prioritizing Quickly too. I'm going to have a lot of Quickly tonight.
Nice. So anything else you want to mention, Brandon? I mean, I think that was already a good mic drop moment. Like quickly prioritizing him. No one else is saying that. So I like that. Awesome. Hey, well, I appreciate you all. Look forward to seeing you guys later today on the Pre-Lock Show. Hope you can go out, enjoy the rest of the new year, and good luck, everyone. Peace out.